Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we are going to take a look at the slow but steady buildup of Mars moving through Taurus, eventually conjoining Uranus in the later degrees of the sign of Taurus. I want to look at the timeline today and also give you some reminders about what this process entails and how it will peak at the conjunction. It's easy to focus on a Mars-Uranus conjunction within a couple of days of the conjunction, a couple of days after. But what we don't realize is that Mars is already co-present with Uranus in the sign of Taurus and is therefore very slowly and steadily building toward this moment of peak expression, you might say. So we're going to talk about what that means today and give you the timeline. I'm winging this. Sometimes I prepare notes. Other times something will come to me very quickly and I'll be like, let's just go. Let's just talk about it. So that's how we're going to do it today. Anyway, before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe. It takes a couple of seconds to press the like button, the subscribe button. We really appreciate it. It helps us grow this community. Transcripts of any of my daily talks can be found on the website, which is nightlightastrology.com. When you're over there, be sure to check out all of the new courses that recently started, the monthly webinar series that continues in July with a talk on Uranus entering Gemini next year. We'll be looking at that, sort of looking forward at that transit in July's monthly webinar series. And if you missed the 12th house talk that we just did, you can check that out under the shop or live talks pages on the website as well. So let's turn our attention now to the real-time clock, where we are going to take a look at the slow, steady building of Mars in Taurus. All right, so here is our screen. All right, here we go. So here we are, Wednesday, June 19th. And you can see that Mars is co-present with Uranus, has been for a little bit now. We back this up just a little ways, we'll see that Mars entered Taurus right around June 8th into June 9th. And now here we are on June 19th. Now here's what I want to show you. This is a process that culminates with the conjunction of Mars and Uranus in Taurus. And it's going to be happening here as we reach through the end of July. We're going to see the two planets, once they get to within about 3 degrees, that's when things are really heating up. But just watch how slowly Mars is sort of marching its way toward the conjunction. We get to about July 7th. Now they're within 6 degrees, 5 degrees. And it's right about here. This is about July 11th that the two planets are now within 3 degrees. And now we're going to see that they come to within about the same degree on July 15th. Then if we give it 3 degrees of separation, they are completely separated by within 3 degrees by about July 19th. And then we see around July 20th into the 21st, Mars moves into Gemini. So the separation of Mars and Uranus, which we give 3 degrees, takes us all the way to the transition of Mars into Gemini, moving into a new sign. This means that Mars's journey through Taurus is really aimed at the grand finale of the conjunction with Uranus. And so you can't just think about Mars plodding through Taurus without thinking about the fact that it culminates by conjoining Uranus. So what do we get from this process that starts in early June and culminates by late July? We get a Mars in the sign of Taurus that is conjoining with Uranus not too far off from the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction point, a little bit earlier in Taurus, a few degrees back. And so we have Mars kind of reigniting this revolutionary signature of Jupiter-Uranus. Mars does so in a way that is much more slam your foot on the gas pedal, punch forward, assert yourself, than other planets that have gone through the Uranus conjunction, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, etc. So I like to think about Jupiter-Uranus as a revolutionary opening, an opportunity for personal growth and expansion. an opportunity for the revolution of Venusian things in our lives, especially ones that grant a greater sense of peace, ease, and stability. So, how are we revolutionizing our lives so that we feel more comfortable, more at ease, more peaceful, more solid, more secure, that life is more enjoyable, and that there's a sense of self-reliance, self-assuredness, and peacefulness and ease, right? That's the kind of Taurus vibe. Jupiter Uranus is trying to create that. And that may express itself in any number of different areas of our lives. It'll look different for each of us depending on, say, the whole sign house of Taurus's location in your birth chart. I've done horoscopes on that so many times now. But now, as Mars kind of is pushing its way through Taurus, one image that I've used recently in some talks is like a bulldozer. It's like there's heavy lifting equipment, and Mars can move Earth. And when Mars gets to Uranus, it's as though the potential for a revolutionizing but very practical effort to transform something can be accomplished. So you might think about this slow, methodical building of Mars through Taurus between early June and late July as the gradual moving of Earth, the gradual shaping and reshaping of structures and forms, which are very earthy, all in the name of Venus, right? All in the name of pleasure, sensuality, etc. And now culminating around the middle of July, when the two planets conjoin, Mars and Uranus, you get this moment of like rapid acceleration and breakthrough. That would be the best. The best way of thinking about Mars Uranus is where the willpower, the sort of the creative mojo, the force, comes through and creates a breakthrough that is following on the heels of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction from late April. And it's a process, right? So we see punctuation marks that kind of reiterate, and this is one of them. So the worst, of course, would be that Mars and Taurus can represent things that are sort of stuck or like recalcitrant, or things that are stubborn and fixed and won't move. And so we could be seeing the slow buildup of Mars and Taurus finally hitting Uranus as a moment of stubborn release. Sometimes we can't change until we hit some kind of threshold, and there's a kind of karmic confrontation that has to happen. You can't break through a personal barrier or limit or stuck or fixed habit or pattern until you really just bang your head against it. That would be the worst. That there's this kind of stubborn, like resistant part of ourselves that's going to it's going to be forced to change through some kind of more cataclysmic, I'm using big words, but this is relative. The dramas are probably not super big, but it can be a drama. It can be a drama that comes up and it forces us to change where we're stuck. Another, and that usually is like accelerated by this feeling of I don't want to change because it's too pleasant. I'm comfortable. I'm set. I'm good. I don't want to have to do any hard work or something like that. Or you could also see Mars and Uranus getting together in mid-July as a signal of something that is difficult to do, because Mars and Taurus, we talked about the bull in the china shop. Mars and Taurus it's a Taurus. It's a Venus ruled sign. It's concerned with harmony. It's concerned with stability and peace and ease. How comfortable is it for Mars to make rapid, decisive, willful changes? Revolutionary energy is not always pretty. It's not very stable by nature. So this Mars-Uranus dynamic could depict something that's difficult to do, that it disrupts or disturbs the peace somehow, but we have to. If you're a Taurus rising, for example, you may find that exerting your will or your needs, or making who you are, what you need very clear, decisive, that's difficult because it may disrupt the peace around you. Not everyone may like it. You could see that same kind of scenario playing out in different houses in the birth chart as well. The 10th, maybe it's in the workplace. The 7th, it's in relationships. The 4th, it's with your family. You get it. So Another way of thinking about this is that Mars and Uranus can be quite forceful and erratic. The worst part about Mars Uranus is typically also that sort of violent, erratic, explosive, and uncontained or like uncontrolled energies express themselves. And maybe they serve a purpose, but their expression is still sort of like a wild like horse or something. It it's not something that conforms. It doesn't obey. You know what I mean? And that could still serve a highly creative and useful or healing purpose. But let's be real, one of the hardest parts about Mars Uranus is we don't like how uncontrolled things can feel. And that's especially true in the sign of Taurus. So we have this gradual building up of a revolutionary, kind of accelerated, forceful, punching breakthrough moment with Mars Uranus, and it's building now. So one of the reasons I really wanted to do this is because I believe that if you pay attention to transits like this now, one of the things you can do is start to observe or sort of watch for what I call the psychic or like karmic fault lines. It's like, where are the cracks in the foundation starting to appear? Where are you starting to notice this is where I'm resistant to change, but I know it needs to happen? Or this is where I'm having a hard time asserting myself because I don't want to disturb the peace. Or this is where the earth is literally cracking or shifting like an earthquake. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw with Mars Uranus events that express themselves on the plane of Earth agriculture that were disruptive and erratic and signified major shifts in earthy structures. That's pretty common. There's also like questions about how forceful should you be when you know something needs to change and it's not easy to do. How much should you really care about who or what is affected around you when change needs to happen? It's like, I'm sorry that it's inconvenient, but I need to go to therapy, or I need to get sober, or I need to do something X, Y, or Z for myself. I need to change my lifestyle. Sorry, I know it's going to change our schedule or something like that. On the other hand, one of the most ruthless qualities of Mars is the tendency to be domineering. So when you combine that with revolutionary impulses, it's like, well, I don't care who I oppress or steamroll in the process because I want or need or desire something. And because I can paint it as something beautiful, or eventually this thing will help stabilize and create something better or more secure or lovely Altorian values, it doesn't matter what I do in the process to get there. And that can have consequences. There can be like important feedback that comes and says, change can come, but like moderation and temperance are like important for Mars and Taurus. Sometimes Mars and Taurus is about breaking out of the nice little picture of how controlled and stable everything ought to be. It's like we can forget that the Earth itself has been shaped by so much chaos. By think of the kind of cauldron of chemicals and everything that went into the formation of the Earth itself. Think about, the dinosaurs being wiped out by a comet or whatever. Like these images are also a part of how the Earth transforms and establishes different seasons, which then display a kind of regulation. There's a kind of homeostasis now, but eventually the Earth shifts. The Earth goes through major changes, and that's a part of the Earth. And I think Uranus and Taurus is about that sense that we live in this kind of ideal world that is never disturbed, and then reconciling that with the fact that any ideal world has been birthed through enormous pressures and chaos and destruction. Like the peace you have now comes right out of destruction that's come at other times in your life. Can we, We can see that, right? I mean, I can see it very clearly. So for me, I think about, in my early 20s when I struggled with addiction and having to get sober, and how much that entire process, if I look at it from a holistic perspective, has been part of what I now enjoy as a relative form of stability mentally and emotionally. There was a lot of chaos that went into how I now appreciate the stable or peaceful qualities of mind and environment. We forget that it's easy to lose track of that because we like to push the destructive revolutionary periods of time away and go, well, that was chaotic. I'm glad I'm done with that. But it's actually better to keep the memories and the images of those chaotic, destructive, revolutionary periods close. Not so close that we're living in trauma, right? But close enough so that we're not like repressing something that's a real part of what life is. And this is what Mars wants to do in Taurus. It wants to draw our attention back to the fact that life includes these turbulent periods of recreation and revolution. And it's naturally destabilizing, but it's also a part of what then establishes the next rhythm. I was reminded of this very deeply. I was thinking about this as Mars entered Taurus. I was literally, to the minute that it happened, I was in a Grateful Dead show in the Sphere in Las Vegas, and Mickey Hart, who's this kind of like shamanic drummer, was doing the drums portion of the show, where it's just like exploratory drum sound. It was incredible, and the vibrations were so deep and powerful. The bass of the drums. Ashley, my wife, she was plugging her ears, and she goes, "Plug your ears," and I go, "Why?" And she goes, "Because when you plug your ears, you can actually feel your heart being vibrated by the bass." And I was like, "Oh, cool." So I plugged my ears, and I could feel. I was, "Oh my God, yes, I can actually feel my heart being vibrated by these deep bass sounds." And I was like, "Ah, that's Mother Earth. That's also Mother Earth. This deep, deep, like primordial vibrations that shake the whole Earth." And I was like, "Wow, there's Mars and Taurus entering the temple right now while Uranus is co-present." And then it was really funny because there was this woman who was sitting next to me, and she was pretty intoxicated, I think. And she goes, "Why are you plugging your ears?" And I go, "Oh, my wife said if you plug your ears, you can feel your heart vibrating." And she looked at me, and she's like a little drunk, I think. She goes, "Well, that's how I feel all the time." And I was like, "Liar." I'm just kidding. I was like, "You do not. Come on. Let's be real here." How quickly did you think of saying that, though? Come on now. So I'm being a jerk. I was like, "Wow, that's amazing. It's so cool that you're in your heart center where the primordial beat of Mother Earth is ever present." Hmm. So anyway. Oh man. At least to make myself laugh. I am a nice person most of the time. So anyway, but that's Mars and Uranus. You could also think about it as like the force and power of Mother Earth shaking the foundations from some deep place. It's not comfortable, but that is the Earth. So anyway, I'll leave it here. Hopefully these are images and themes that can start you on the path of feeling these vibrations as they're gathering and moving toward this peak moment in the middle of July, because it's underway right now. You can watch and feel and notice. All right, I'll leave it there. That's it. There's a big storm here the whole time. This is why it's dark. It's like the middle of the morning and my windows are open. Usually you'd see me in the light, but it's like pitch black out because it's like a major storm right now. And I thought, oh, there's Mother Earth again. All right. Hope you guys are having a good one. We'll see you again soon.